Update: am I the a-hole for just refusing to cook for my wife at this point? Original post: I am 39 male. My wife Jennifer is 37. We have been married for 8 years, and we have 2 children. I work full-time, and Jennifer is a stay-at-home mom. She's a wonderful mother to our children, but one thing she does not like to do is cook. This works out just fine for me, as I generally get off work by 4:30, and I happen to be a phenomenal cook. My father was a chef, and I've been cooking since I was 10 years old. I also worked as a line cook for several years. Virtually everyone loves my cooking. When we have company, it gets rave reviews. Our children always ask for seconds. I put a lot into it, and I take pride in my cooking skills. The only person who doesn't like it is Jennifer. She complains endlessly. Too salty, too much pepper. This is undercooked. She also backseat cooks a lot, where I'll be in the kitchen making something, and she won't shut up about what I should be doing differently. The worst part though is that she'll frequently insult my cooking and then go get garbage like a Hot Pocket or a frozen dinner from the freezer. Last Wednesday, I made Salisbury steaks with mushroom gravy, cream cheese, mashed potatoes, and roasted asparagus. When I put Jennifer's plate in front of her, she made a disgusted face. She poked at her Salisbury steak for a few seconds, took the tiniest bite imaginable, then made an exaggerated retching sound, dramatically threw her fork on the plate, and went to heat up a microwave burrito. I just snapped. I didn't say anything at the time because our children were there, but I was completely done. The next day, I made teriyaki bowls with broccoli. Jennifer sat at the table waiting for hers, and I informed her that I was done cooking for her. When she asked why, I told her it was a waste of food and that she should just go have a Hot Pocket. Jennifer is furious that I won't cook for her, and she says that instead of giving up, I should try a bit harder. I think she should just subsist on whatever microwavable slop she likes and stop complaining. Did I escalate too much here? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. She created this dynamic. Just make sure you and your babies are fed. She doesn't deserve your food, especially since she's being negative on purpose. One thing that I take very seriously is how my boys eat. My wife and I are very fortunate to be able to afford good ingredients, so I spend probably more than necessary on food for them. My older boy says he always looks forward to his lunchbox at kindergarten. I'm appalled by her behavior in itself. Does she do this in front of your kids? There's so many things wrong with this. I would simply serve her a burrito or a Hot Pocket going forward. Not the a-hole, for the fact that cooking is a part of her duty as a wife, especially since she is a housewife. She should be nothing but grateful that you come home after a long day of work and cook good meals for her and your family. You should tell her to learn how to cook and start making dinner if she doesn't like your cooking. It's not for you to try a bit harder. I'm sure you work hard enough supporting your family and being present in their lives. It's not your job. You have a job, which allows her to not have to learn yours or go get one. She's ungrateful and entitled, seemingly. I've often wondered if it was insecurity on her part. Maybe since she doesn't cook well, my cooking well is a blow to her self-confidence? She is 100% trying to tear you down because it makes her feel better. Being insecure is normal, but this is not how to deal with it. This is borderline emotional abuse. And you can tell that from her reaction. If she just didn't like home cooking and genuinely thought it was gross, she'd at least be polite or ask you not to cook for her. But she wants you to feed her, so that she has opportunities to harshly put you down, like negging. Be careful, OP. Edit. Thank you for the comments. Unfortunately, people are sending me harassment through private messages, and many of these people come from the same community that has cross-posted this multiple times. I'm going to abandon this Reddit account, although in the unlikely scenario that I post an update, I may use it again. I'm just exhausted from reading comments about how I'm supposedly a terrible father for not making the right food for my children, and how my wife must be right about my cooking. I am no longer reading responses and DMs. Now for the update. About a month ago, I posted here about something that happened over dinner one night. My wife, Jennifer, literally retched at my cooking, despite taking the tiniest bite imaginable. After that, I refused to cook for her, which made her very angry. It was this bizarre disconnect between her thinking my food was trash, not fit for a compost bin, but still demanding that I continue making it for her anyway. I was hesitant to update because, for some reason beyond my understanding, I received about a dozen hate-filled direct messages after my last post. They were all being sent from users of a parody community of this one. I have no idea what I did to make so many people upset, but a lot of people have asked me for an update, so I figured I'd give one. Anyway, the last month has been really eye-opening for me. I had long ago noticed that Jennifer was highly critical of my cooking, but over this time, I've come to realize that she's really critical of just about everything I do. For example, 2 weeks ago, I was walking outside with her. I'm pigeon-toed and have been since I was a baby, although it's a lot better now. Jennifer asked why I was walking with my toes slightly pointed in, and when I remind her that I'm pigeon-toed, she responded in an exasperated tone. "Well, why don't you just try walking with your feet straight?" Yes, thank you. My literal bone issue was just magically cured by your advice. I never realized that the solution to something I have suffered from for nearly 40 years was staring me right in the face. At least now if I ever get cancer, I can just get rid of it by deciding not to have cancer. You see, I never really noticed how critical she is towards me in virtually everything I do. She's just more forward about my cooking. For example, when she walks into my home office, she always scrunches up her face in this really displeased way. I don't think she likes the interior, which I designed, because she wants nothing but white and gray in every room in the house. Whenever I try to do the laundry, she'll hear me open the washing machine door and beeline over to backseat me through the whole process. This is coming from a woman who once ruined a $1,500 suit of mine because she thought bleach would be the perfect stain remover, by the way. When I was explaining an issue I had with a colleague to her, she took my colleague's side, despite my colleague being objectively in the wrong from an industry standpoint. My wife was adamant, though. I must have been the one to screw things up. I'm honestly just exhausted. The criticism of my cooking was the worst, yes, but it really just overshadowed everything else she always found fault with me on. I tried to have a conversation with her, and naturally, she denied doing anything of the sort, denied ever being rude to me, and even denied retching at my food. She actually tried to gaslight me. She kept asking me questions like, "When did I do that? Tell me the date." Then she called me a hypocrite for being critical of her, hijacked the conversation, and eventually stonewalled me. I've come to realize that I don't really like my wife anymore. She's just such a negative person. It makes me sad, but in the next few days, I'm going to ask her for a divorce. She's not going to like it, but I've come to realize that when she walks into a room I'm in, I get anxious about what she's going to say to me. Thank you for all your comments. I also apologize if this was long-winded. My marriage is falling apart, and I'm not in the best headspace right now. You don't ask your wife for a divorce. You see a lawyer and go through the process. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry to hear how you have been treated, but no one deserves to live like this. You should be with someone who loves you and lifts you up, not tears you down and gets enjoyment out of it. I'd go speak to a lawyer first and get everything in line so you know where you stand and she can't file before you and put lies in. So don't tell her until she's served, or you have the papers to serve her ready. Edit. Thanks for all the advice. I'm getting hate messages from that community again, and I really don't need this as I have to deal with child custody, divorce, assets, and telling my children that mommy and daddy are going to be separating. It's a really stressful time, and they're mocking me in DMs. I'm going to stop checking my inbox on this account, so I won't be reading any more of your comments. Thank you so much for all the support. Next story, update. Am I the a-hole for using information against my mother in court that I know will destroy her mentally and emotionally? Original post. I, 34 female, am involved in a very dramatic court case with my narcissistic mother and stepfather. First, a little backstory. When my sister was 1 and I was 3, my mother initially had custody. However, she went missing for 4 days, leaving my sister and me in the home alone. Investigations were conducted, and we were raised by our father. There was a reunification plan. However, my mother did not follow any of it, and her parental rights were terminated. No one had ever talked negatively about my mother while I was growing up or told me what happened. So when I was 20, I found my mom and decided to develop a relationship with her. Big mistake. After reuniting with my mother, I discovered quite a bit of information that I previously had not known. She is a narcissist, formally diagnosed, specifically a vulnerable narcissist. My stepfather has BPD, also formally diagnosed. This past decade has been torture. Faked cancer. I was made to shave her hair. I had to pay them to watch my 2 children. Constant arguments. The list is too long to name. In 2022, my parents decided to move 15 hours away for a get-rich-quick scheme involving flipping homes. I decided to stay in our hometown because my youngest child's father had died, and I wanted to stay close to his family. Plus, I was already in a year-long relationship. My mother was enraged. After she had already left, she tried everything to get me to move up with them. She asked me how much money it would take to break up with my boyfriend, got me fired from a job, wrote posts online about how mean I am, texted my oldest about me, sent me hundreds of messages each month, etc. This has been going on continuously for about a year. Earlier this year, I was served paperwork. My mother and stepfather are suing me for grandparents' rights. However, no court date was ever sent. My oldest child goes to her father's every break, and when she came back from summer break with him, she was acting very differently. I found out that my mother and my child's father had been in close contact for about a year and a half. They had my daughter speak with my mother, see my mother, and recorded videos of her that my child did not know about. I have sole legal and physical custody, so needless to say, a huge argument happened, and I am now restricting any visitation. As a result of this incident, my mother and stepfather set a court date for a month from now. So here's why I ask if I am the a-hole. For court, I plan on using text messages, where my mother said my stepfather is a danger to children. Text messages from my daughter's father stating my mother is psychotic and he would never give our child access to her, and my mother's court records. My mother has over 140 plus charges on her record in 5 different states. My stepfather knows none of it. I'm also using the fact that her parental rights to me were terminated, so legally, she has no rights to my children. My concern is that, knowing she's a narcissist, when I use these documents in court, it will humiliate her and probably turn my stepfather against her. I do worry it's going to trigger a horrible reaction from my mother, possibly the worst. I wish my mother no harm. I just want to be left alone and protect my children. I've been no contact this whole time, hoping it would stop, but it hasn't. I am feeling so conflicted. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Be aware, CPS cleared me after my mom called them on me. With one caveat, if I let my mother back in my kids' lives, CPS would take them. Further, that my letting a known child abuser, my abuser no less, around my children, was an indication that my parenting choices were in question. I'm glad you were cleared. Gives me hope I can get through this too. I'm staying no contact and have no intentions of ever engaging again. Which is why I also told my oldest child's father he will not see her until further notice because he will let my mother around my child. If I can get a restraining order, I will. I'm just trying to get her out of my children's and my life, but with limited fallout. Looks like I can't avoid that, unfortunately. I'm wondering why you remained in contact with your mother once you discovered her issues. I often ask myself the same question. I have never dealt with anyone like her before, and I never lived with her, so I didn't experience a lot of this wrath until I defied her wishes. I wasn't raised around her family, so I didn't know anyone else's experience. I also didn't know a lot of the criminal stuff until I hired a private investigator. The mental illness stuff should have scared me more, but at the time it didn't. Now that I do know everything, I can never let my kids near them again. This is your child. I don't give 2 craps about your mom or her feelings. Also warn your lawyer. She will lie her butt off and probably already has in the deposition. I might have missed whether your dad is still in your life, and if yes, he might have some skeletons to help you. You don't want some left-wing judge saying, "She made one mistake," I'm giving her visitation. You want to show how horrible she is, so that you get a restraining order preventing her from contacting you or your child, and limit any contact with the father of your child. If you didn't know your mom was nuts, then maybe let him start slow again. I already warned my lawyer. I asked my dad if he knew anything, and it wasn't too much more than I already knew, so I hired a private investigator, and that's how I found out about a lot of the charges. Unfortunately, my child's father knew everything about my mother already and let it happen anyway. I have evidence that my mother paid my child's father in order to see my child. It's a whole mess. Now for the update. I finally have an update on my situation since I last posted about 5 months ago. Court was postponed twice by my mother for reasons I don't know. Then it was postponed a third time due to accusations that I was an unfit mother and that my daughter had suicidal ideations. My mother asked the judge to appoint a guardian ad litem to make sure the children were safe. Court was rescheduled to March 2025. Over the past 5 months, I have been doing nothing but researching my mother. I found she has a total of 19 active warrants, including 3 probation violations. I turned everything over to my lawyer in hopes something would work. 2 days after discovery was turned over to my mother's lawyers, my lawyer called to let me know she officially dropped the case. My children and I met with a guardian ad litem. They told the judge they see no issues whatsoever. After over a year of fighting this, it's finally over. It's been such a tough battle, but I'm so happy my kids are safe and will never have to go through what I have. Thank you to everyone who wrote me personally and commented such positive things. You all have no idea how much it helped me, especially when I was having such an internal struggle. My kids are doing better than ever, and I'm grateful we pushed through. More info. To answer some comments, I have already moved several states away, changed my contact information, and have been no contact for 3.5 years. I am currently working on getting a restraining order, but have been advised by my lawyer that I may not be granted one due to lack of proof. That's frustrating, but I'm still trying anyway. My daughter and I still have had no contact with her father. And other than a very strange Darth Vader text, we haven't heard from him. He's also a couple of states away from us. I also have my daughter into therapy, so I'm hoping she learns how to have better boundaries than I did. I am not going to call the different areas about her warrants yet. My thinking is that she won't make any big moves against me as long as they are active and I know about them. It's something I can hold over her head, just in case she tries something again. I know it's probably not over, but this was a huge win. How does one acquire 19 warrants? She has 30+ aliases and has 200+ charges in 8 different states. All financial-related crimes, identity theft, robbery, fraud, etc. She's a con artist. Contact all the venues for which she has warrants and tell them where she is and how they can find her. Let them take care of it from there. If OP reported the warrants to her lawyer, as an officer of the courts, they are mandated to report the fact that they know. Whether this happens or not, if the warrants are out of state, or are there some in state, who knows? Lawyers do have expectations of confidentiality, but that's only in regards to those paying their bills. The mother wouldn't be covered. What an incredible update. Your strength in fighting for your kids is truly inspiring. I'm relieved to hear the guardian ad litem found no issues. What kept you motivated throughout this journey? What kept me going was my kids, and wanting to break the cycle of toxicity for them. They deserve the world. Hopefully, they will have better boundaries and not find themselves in a similar situation.